Hi, this is JoJo with the Hookup Baits podcast, and we have some very special guests today, Tim and Tara Garnder. Let's start by how many years have you guys been married?
Like 2, 3 now? Isn't that it?
Going on 39.
Yeah, 39
39
years this year.
Mm-hmm. And I often love to ask couples, what's the secret to a good marriage?
A lot of alcohol. Dramatic amounts of alcohol.
That's his answer. My answer is good communication and
That
you
does
know,
too, yeah.
compromise. You know, sometimes we don't want to do a lot of things that the other person wants to do, but we do it because we love them.
So what's your excuse for being here for me? Just kidding.
And you have how many children and grandchildren?
We have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. My son Aaron and Kimberly. My daughter has 5 kids. My son has 3 kids. And I'm praying to God they stop doing this because it's getting expensive. That's a lot of fishing poles.
Tell us a little bit about both of your backgrounds. Prior to Hookup Baits, did you fish, or what was your first fishing experience? I think you'd shared with us a date or something you guys went on.
Actually, it was funny. I met my wife at the roller skating rink in Escondido. That's where we actually met. And saw her a couple times, and we got together, and I asked her, hey, do you like fishing? Oh, I love fishing. You know, lie. So I said, well, would you like to go fishing? She's like, yeah, you know. And so we get together. It's probably, 5:30, 6 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, okay, she's dressed for it. She's got her down jacket, her hikers on, you know. She's all dressed like, I'm business. I know what I'm doing. So I take her to this spot.
And you're impressed.
Oh, I was very impressed.
Yeah, she got up early. She's going fishing with you.
Had her own tackle box, had her own fishing pole, which I found out later she stole from her brother. Don't even know if he knew she had it. Take her down to this place. We hike in. I get her all set up. She casts out. I start casting, you know, and I look back and she's sitting on a rock. And I'm like, oh, cool. She's just waiting to get hit or something. And I look back again, and her mouth's wide open, and she is snoring. I'm like, okay, I'll give her this. She gets points for even coming out and trying it. If she can fall asleep on a rock, hey, God bless her. I got to keep this one. She's a keeper.
And so fast forward, obviously we had a previous podcast with you and Chad of talking about being a part of the very, very beginning of Hookup Baits.
Oh, yeah.
So both of you have seen this. Now Hookup Baits is available in freshwater and saltwater. How has this improved both of your fishing?
You want to go ahead?
I'll start because I really wasn't the fishing person. Tim was, as he said, with that first little story there. But yeah, because once we started fishing with Hookup Baits, I basically was hooked because from the no pun intended, but it was the fact that my first toss out, I caught a fish. And it was like I throw one out, I catch a fish. I throw one out, I catch a fish.
Well, let's clarify. She really does. She has this incredible ability and talent to, no matter where we're fishing, you catch fish. I mean, every time, and great quality fish as well.
Yeah.
And Tim's usually helping taking the fish off and
I don't get to fish.
Getting another rod and yes.
Or watching my wife come out of the water for diving.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. Later.
Not a lot of women would do that.
That's true.
But so really, you started fishing because of Hookup Baits.
Oh yeah, I mean that totally just brought us together. It gave us something to do, and we enjoy going out now all the time. And even if I wasn't to catch so much now, it's just the fact of us doing stuff together. But the Hookup Baits and catching fish is just the icing on the cake.
And what makes it easy for you compared to live bait or using something else?
She'd have to get her fingers all
you don't have to get
smelly.
stinky and smelly from the nasty fish. But, I mean, and you can use the same jig for a number of times. You're not having to re-hook, re-bait your hook. And, so it's just, you get a lot out of one jig and a lot of fish. So
A lot easier.
Yeah, it's definitely much easier.
And we had talked previously that you used to fish with a Walmart rod.
Oh, yeah.
And now I see that you've got, Shimano and
Yep.
great equipment. How has that upgraded now that both of you have great equipment to fish these baits?
Okay, you have to understand one thing. Now, when I go to buy a rod or reel, the first thing you hear from Lori from Turner's is, "You're going to need two, right? Because we know your wife's going to want this."
Yeah.
I'm like, yes.
He can't come home without the second one.
That's true. That's true. Actually, it's funny because fishing with Chad, actually, I would ask him all the time, "Hey, where'd you get that new rod? Where'd you get that new reel?" "Oh, well, why'd you change?" "I'll tell you." And he would go into specifics about how each rod works different, you know, and how each reel is different. And so I started saying, well, I'm going to upgrade, you know, later. And then after catching that 50-pound white sea bass, first thing I said, okay, it's time to upgrade, you know. And don't get me wrong, the stuff isn't cheap. So, you know, you have to wait, buy something, save up a little more money, buy some more. But I've never bought top of the line. I've always bought middle of the road. And all the gear I have the Saragossa line for ocean. I have all Shimano gear now. And I don't know, it's just because I like Shimano. I always have. But everything I have now is basically Shimano, you know. And it is a great, all my reels are great. My rods are great. They stand behind the product. But she keeps asking, "Did you get a new rod?" "Well, yeah. Why?" "Well, this is why. I talked to Chad, and he said, you're going to need this rod for this."
All right,
So
Chad,
first
you're in
thing she
trouble.
says is, "Stop talking to Chad. It's getting expensive."
Or Lori, either
Or
one.
Lori. Yeah, because Lori from Turner's is amazing. You know,
Well,
she knows
and
how to
having
fish.
confidence in the bait, but also the equipment.
Your equipment
that you
makes
know
a
that
big
equipment can handle the size of fish that you're going after.
Yeah.
And so I think that's also important that
Oh, yeah.
you have the right equipment
Yeah.
as well as the bait.
It's true because, good example, Chad knows this too. We always get a bunch of grief from old time fishermen. We all fish with our bait casters, you know, on party boats and in lakes. These baits work so much better with a spinner. That's that's how I feel, you know. Everybody's different, but I watched the guy make them, and I always ask, "Why a spinner and not this?" He goes, "Let me show you." We'd be in the lake, and he'd say, "You see how this thing moves freely in the water?" "Yeah, that's why." He goes, "And the spinner lets it do that. The line just falls off the reel, and it makes it a lot easier." And I'm like, man, it makes sense. So I took that when I'd go on the party boats for bluefin, yellowtail. The first thing you had to hear from somebody when you walked on, before you even left the dock, "That guy's using spinners." And you hear a deckhand, "That guy has hookup baits, man." He goes, "You'll see." And immediately, first stop, all of a sudden these guys are going, "What are you using?" "This little plastic jig." They'd be like, "Do you have any?" I said, "Yeah." "How much money you got?"
And as you guys started fishing, you would rent skiffs. Tell us a little bit about that. I know you make amazing lunches, so I would just hang out for the lunches and the friendship. But tell us about that experience.
You make a really good lunch too.
I'm second best, absolutely.
Well, we know Chad gained some weight, and it wasn't from just eating, you know, bread.
Well, thank you for
You
that.
definitely feed him very well.
But there's a reason why I asked for her cookbook for one Christmas
Oh,
gift.
okay,
Yes,
gotcha.
yes. But what was that? You know, you're renting skiffs. What was that like to go out together
Well,
and fish the bays?
It was great. We would, you know, like, I don't own a boat. We've owned boats in the past. Right now is really just not a good time for us to have a boat. And Chad would always, when Chad and I started really fishing bay before he had a boat, we would be out and he'd rent a skiff. And he showed me, man, basically, if Chad could put two little floaties on his feet and walk out on water, he would do it to go fish. And basically, he showed me, yeah, man, you can just get out in any little thing. So we started renting skiffs, and we would go out in the bay. And sure
You go
enough,
a lot.
we did quite
Yeah.
a bit. Yeah, we went quite a bit. And you know you do when they start knowing you by name. Or they'd say, "Oh, Hookup Baits is here." You know?
Yeah.
And the first thing they say, "Are you Chad?" "Why, yes, I am. How you doing?" "Really?" "No, I'm not Chad. He's out in his boat out in the ocean somewhere in Mexico or something, you know." But We did great. We would do great. I remember our first trip with our grandkids and our son.
When we went to Mission Bay.
Yeah.
And we
It
had a
was
really
great.
good time with them. And you know, it's so fun to take kids because they, you know, they've never been. It's their first time fishing. They're like 5 years old. And we took them over to the bait barge. And of course, there's usually always fish around there. And so Tim would throw it out for them and they'd catch a fish, throw it out and catch a fish. I mean, that day we caught, no lie, about 150 fish. And so our grandchildren think that's fishing.
That's normal.
That's normal.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Yeah.
you got to tell him what our son, because our son, he really never really fished growing up. I took him all the time. He just wasn't his thing.
Yeah.
So we take him with us. You know, he's with us in the skiff with the kids. And the first words out of his mouth, I hand him a rod and I said, "You know how to cast?" He goes, "Hey, do these little things really work?" And I look over my shoulder and I go, I just kind of snickered, threw it out. "Here you go, buddy. Pick that up." And my son's all, He was just like those kids.
that's true.
"Oh, I got another fish. Oh, I got another fish."
Yeah, no, he
Oh,
was excited.
He was just like those kids.
That
you
must
know.
have felt great.
It was
I
amazing.
mean,
It did.
as parents and
Yeah. Oh,
grandparents and
He tells all his buddies who are hardcore fishermen, "Man, you got to try these jigs. You know, these things are amazing." So he started sharing pics that I would take when we were bluefinning. And of course, those guys have, you know, $5,000 rod and reels, and, you know, and they would see pics and go, "Oh, your dad's using a spinner?" He goes, "Yeah, but look at the fish he's catching," you know, and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, these things really work." It doesn't matter the price of your rod and reel.
Yeah.
It matters that jig that's on there. I'll pay big time money for a jig and lure that works, and I'll get me a Walmart rod if I have to go fish because I know that jig is going to work. You know, I'd rather spend money on that. But the equipment does. I do like my new equipment. Don't get me wrong, it's great. You know, but anybody can get a rod and reel and go fish. Throw a hookup bait on that thing, and you're going to see smile on those faces.
I
for
just wanted to
sure.
say though about the grandkids because it was
Yeah.
so funny when they would throw one down, you know, the next one, and they didn't get anything. "It's broken, Grandpa. It's broken."
They
You
say,
know,
"Grandpa, mine's broke. Mine's broken. Look, no fish."
it was very cute.
Okay,
you know,
let me
but
see it.
they were very spoiled because you know that trip was the first one, and then after that we took them a couple of different times, and then we caught fish, but not like that.
Yeah, you have
It
your
just was
good
a
days,
really
and
good
you
day.
know, well, a bad day for us is we only caught 100. You know, and I mean it is hilarious to see our grandkids because they're twin boy and girl, and they're so competitive against each other. You know, and my granddaughter, we took her out and got them their own rods and reels, and I opened the tackle box, said, "You pick out a color." "Oh, here." She goes, "I want the pink."
Of course.
oh,
And she
Gotta
puts
be
the
the
pink
pink
on, and I go, "What do you want?" And he puts on, you know, sardine green, and they go casting. She caught 5 before anybody caught anything, and she'd cast out and look at her brother. "I got another one. I got another one."
Very, very
so you learned that from Grandpa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Or Chad, you know how he's all, and you know Chad gets a fish because he's not saying a word.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and you just hear the reel. You look over. "I got another one." Just keeps, you know.
Yep.
That's what he does.
Yep. And since we're on the subject of equipment, a fishing day I'll never forget with you guys down south.
That's right.
Tell us or tell the listeners about that special day where equipment was very important to your wife and how much she loves you. Let's preface that of this is really how much this woman loves you.
Okay. Well, let's go back to when we had our own boat, and we were what lake?
We were at Skinner.
And I had 2 rods. I'm fishing with one. She's reading a book. She wasn't going to fish.
This is before
Right,
hookup,
right,
so
Yeah,
I'm
this
not
is
fishing.
before I even met anybody in Hookup Baits.
Okay.
So we're at Lake Skinner. It's a summer day. We're fishing for stripers, and it's a slow day. It's hot out, you know. So fishing. I have my one rod at the front of the boat, and I'm sitting there, and I go, my rod bends over, and I'm all grab my rod. She's like, "Oh, I'm reading," and I'm like, "My rod's." I go to get up, and I stuck. There was a hook in my carpet, and I'm stuck to it. I can't keep going. I'm all grab my rod. Yeah, I grabbed the rod, and she's like,
I
"What?"
thought it was at the back of the
Ew,
boat.
no,
though.
we were at the back,
I
and it was at the front. And so, sure enough, I get unhooked, and the rod goes zoop, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm going in." She goes, "You can't go in." "Why not?" She goes, you can't go in. You can't swim in this water. I don't care. I'm going to get my rod.
And you did?
Needless
No.
to say, he didn't.
Oh, he
I
didn't. Okay.
So that's
But
prefaces to this other story.
Yeah.
Okay, so that rod and reel's
That
gone.
rod
It's
and
long
reel's
gone.
gone.
Okay.
Shimano, everything.
Wow.
You know, paid a lot of money. That was my favorite rod. Now to today, when we went out with all 4 of us, we went down and we were fishing. She had my new 10,000 Saragossa, brand new Shimano rod. And all I remember is you saying, "Oh no!" And I turn around and I hear Chad
Because you're
laughing.
at the front of the boat. weren't-
I was at the front of the boat
Yeah.
on the far side.
Yeah.
Shadow's in the front, and to hear anytime something happens to anybody, Chad just starts laughing.
Yes, he does.
And I know you were like in panic mode. All I know is I look over and I'm like, "Where's my wife?" And all I hear is "Whoosh." And I go, "Holy crud!" So I come flying around the boat, and here she is swimming. I go, "What are you doing?" She goes, "I lost my rod." And I'm like, "Oh!" She goes, "But I got it."
And she's in the water.
In the water.
Yeah, fully clothed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, put the ladder down in your boat. She comes to get in. I grab the rod and I go, "Hey, you got a fish on." So she got her rod and a fish. She comes in soaking wet. And I know, like, you and I are like, "Are you okay?" She's laughing.
I'm just laughing.
She was good.
It was funny.
This one's up front. Still fishing. Didn't miss a beat. Thank God. You know, Chad didn't have to miss a fish for this. But it's just funny to hear him laughing. He just keeps laughing. It's hilarious. So and I go, "What were you thinking?" She goes, "I remember when you lost your one rod."
Yeah, I wasn't going to let that happen again.
But we were fishing right next to each other,
You
and
guys
you
were.
did not miss a beat. Like, you were gone. And I felt bad because I was in shock, and I didn't, like, grab you or anything. I just watched you
Jojo,
dive.
why didn't you go in for it?
I was in shock. And then I thought, would I do that? I don't know. Would I do that? I don't know. You know, and
You don't know until it happens.
I'm
was-
impressed.
Well, I'll tell you, it was funny because the first thing she said when she got in, she's soaking wet, is I go, "What happened?" She goes, "I don't know. I was casting and my rod went, and I was not going to lose it because I remember when you lost your rod." And I'm like, "Good girl. I got to keep
I mean,
it."
that's love.
Oh, that is.
That's
I
love for
don't care if
fishing
it's-
and for you.
I was going to say, it's either the rod and the equipment or me. Either one, she got the rod back.
That is true. That is true.
But you also got to know, that was an amazing day of fishing.
Yes, it
We
was.
got on that
All-
white sea bass.
All
Remember that?
3 days.
Yeah.
Well, if you remember, I caught 1 white sea bass, and the rest of the time, Chad is on the front of the boat. And what's he doing? Catching fish. I'm unhooking yours and hers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a frenzy. I couldn't even
Yeah.
fish. You know, you'd get yours, like, "Okay, go, you go." I was tired from just pulling fish off.
It was a good day of fishing.
It was a great day.
Well, we fished all weekend, so
We
that
did. All
was
3 days
great
was
having you guys
amazing.
down and fishing. That was one of the best weekends.
The food was great, everything. The whole thing.
So we're going to take a short break and come back for our listeners. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. Thanks. Hi, this is JoJo with the Hookup Baits podcast, and we are back with Tim and Tara. Take us back. We knew the baits were something. Fred Hall's coming up, one of the biggest shows.
The first show you guys ever did.
And what was it like? You were our one and only friends at that time, so you were gracious enough to come to Fred Hall with us. What was it like being a part of that and experience our first Fred Hall? It was the 4 of us. I mean,
Yes,
it really was
that's
just
all it
us
was.
4 and a handful of baits because that's
Yes.
all we could make at that moment.
Right.
But what was that like?
Good. I'll let you start.
It was just at first it was a little chaotic because we didn't really know what the heck we were
had no
doing,
clue.
and we were scrambling to try to make things work. But I think as the 4 of us, I think we worked really well as a team, and we did I think a phenomenal job of bringing it together. But It was a good experience. We enjoyed every day, and they went by so fast. I mean, you were there like what 9-10 hours a day, and
Easily.
it seemed like you were only there for 2 hours. You know, so
Yeah.
it was and to see the people, excited about the baits and wanted to know, and we had a good time.
It was really good. I remember we got there and literally it was just four of us. But I remember we called you and we said, "Hey, we're here." You said, "Okay, come up to our room." So we get up there. You're making baits. He's making baits. What are you doing? He goes, "I'm making baits." And I'm like,
At
I
the
thought you
Hyatt
had it.
Hotel.
Yes.
A very, very nice
Yes.
hotel. We have now turned that into a manufacturing
Mhm.
Yes.
plant.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
'Cause
Smelled
you
very
walk in,
garlicky.
it smelled garlicky, and we were in there and I'm just like, okay, well, what do you need help with something? Yeah, let's do this. Let's get it all. And I remember going down to that booth with you guys and, people were interested and they wanted to see it. The first day we were there, it's all new to us, I know Chad's been to that show.
But we've never been a
numerous times.
vendor. We've
never been
yeah,
a vendor, so
Yeah.
it's a whole new experience. And I personally, for me, it was like watching a child grow. It was like this is their baby and it's growing, and oh my gosh, it's growing rapidly. This thing is growing up. So you got to see it from the very beginning even to now. And we knew then, this is something special. This is something that's really going to take off. And I always remember just those words Chad and I talked about in the basement. There's going to be a time we don't get to fish together, And it went by like that. It went by so fast. But the chaos was still exciting to see. And I remember the first day there, people were coming in and checking out everything. But I think what made a difference for the second day for me, just my own observation, was Chad went out that morning early and, of course, went fishing, and you telling him, you got to be back at this time.
Oh, I'm packaging baits as fast as I can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
In the
I'll be
hotel.
back. Yeah. And I remember coming back and he's telling me the story. He goes, yeah, I saw these guys walking away and I was walking from the beach as I'm walking up. And did you guys get anything? No, I didn't get anything. And of course, Chad's standing right where they were and starts catching fish like normal. That's nothing new for him. And I remember guys are racing to get to the show. And you come up and you're like, oh, I got these pictures. And you laid them out on the table. And I'm like, what's that? And he goes, oh, I caught those this morning. I'm like, right on. That's going to be awesome. And those same guys he ran into rolled up because Chad told him, yeah, I got a booth, over here at Fred Hall. Come check it out. And the guy walks up, and I remember the guy's looking down, and he goes, where'd you get those? He goes, well, right where you guys were standing,
Wow.
And they were like, I got to buy these things. So he started buying. But I also remember the next year we went. Because you remember the people next to us
Yep.
at the booth, got to talking to them. The next year we got there, and there were just crowds and lines of people in front of the booth. And I mean, we could not
We
serve
had to have
them
you in
fast enough.
front just to talk to people to get the
Yes.
lines
Yeah.
out of the hall, the walkway.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it was crazy how many people were
I
there.
remember the lines the year before, and we had customers, but Hookup Baits was brand new. It's still a growing kid. Well, wow, that kid all of a sudden turned into a teenager, and it was a real popular one because all of a sudden you couldn't walk through the aisle. And I know security was coming by thinking there was something going on. They go, what's going on? I go, I don't know what's going on. He goes, we got all these people. I go, oh, those are customers waiting to buy. He goes, okay, well, you got to make some room. I'm like, okay, help move them because we can't do anything.
Well, both years. I mean,
It
you,
just got
Chad,
worse
all
and
three
worse.
of you are answering questions
Yes.
and pulling baits and trying to move customers as quickly as possible, but they keep coming.
They keep coming.
They keep
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah.
And then Chad started doing seminars.
Oh, it got worse.
Yeah.
I remember the first time he did a seminar. We went over to watch, and I think
Was that when he put the poles up against the tank?
that
and
was one of the first
Yeah.
times. But I remember right after the seminars, we'll get to that. That was
Okay.
funny. we right after the seminars, we're sitting there, and then, there's still crowds of people, but they go to watch seminars. All of a sudden, we get bombed, and there must be 50 people standing in front of the booth, and everybody's like, "What is going on?" And I go, "The seminar just let out." And they all
That-
just
that's
come
how we knew.
running.
And then
yeah.
anytime he would do a seminar, we'd okay, is it almost time? Is it over? Let's get ready.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they're coming. Is everything stocked back on the shelves? Because I remember for a good hour, hour and a half, you were just
That is
panning
so
baits,
true.
panning baits, you know. And I remember the couple next to us, the people who had always been at all the Fred Halls, and I remember what they said. What in the world did you guys do in 1 year
Yeah.
to get a crowd like this? They go, we've been coming here forever and have never seen this. This is ridiculous, which they liked because it brought people to their booths, you know. And I know for a fact that other vendors around the area, when we were somewhere and they knew it, they were like, oh, we're going to get people. Why? Because Hookup Baits is right there. You know, this little company from a thought from somebody and said, I think I can make a better bait, and did it. You know, they actually did it. And so it just shows right there what, I mean, you'll do anything to catch fish, and they'll spend any amount of money to catch fish. And when you find a bait that works, well, now guess what? We made it easy for you. All you gotta do is throw it out in the water, and it'll work. And that's why she likes fishing so much. Fishing is simple for her.
Well, let's talk about when Chad put his rods. I know he was getting ready for the seminar. People are
Yes.
talking to him. He puts his rod against the
Saltwater tank.
It was
saltwater
a tank.
tank.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
happened?
So Chad and I walk up, and he's got, I think, 3 rods. I think he had 3 rods with him. He was just showing his setups, what he uses, and everything. And I was new to this, and Chad had been to the shows, but it was his, first couple of seminars. And so there was a guy already still up, and we're there a little early. So Chad walks over, leans his rods up against the tank, and you see the crowd, because we really didn't notice it, because we were talking to each other. We look in the crowd, and they're all, hey, look at this. All the fish where he had a hookup bait leaning against the glass, they were coming up and they're hitting the glass.
Wow.
They were trying to get that bait. And I go, Chad. And Chad's all, holy crap, look at this. and the guy, I felt kind of bad, and so did Chad, because the guy giving the seminar
Is still-
was like,
is still
he's still
talking.
talking.
Oh,
He only had
no.
like 5 minutes left.
Oh, no.
But we're like, we're not saying anything. We're just waiting. And he looks back and goes, oh my gosh, I've never seen that. and Chad goes, I'm sorry. And he grabs his rod, and the guy was like, no, leave him right there. So we put him back, and here come the fish again.
I mean,
And
they were all
they
right
were
into the corner.
all in the corner,
Yeah.
and they were hitting the glass trying to get his bait. And it was funny because I know the people who were there really didn't know who Chad was. Well, they stayed because they want to know, okay, what are these things? We know they work. Look at the fish. And it was right after that one, I told Chad, okay, I got to go, dude, because I think these people are talking about coming. So we get over there, and he walks over, and he's like, where'd all these people come from? He said, they just left the seminar. They're coming over.
But you're right. We would time it so we'd make sure we had all the
People.
baits,
Everything ready.
on the pegs
Yeah.
and ready to go, because we knew there was going to be a crowd, and they
Yes.
were all there to buy what Chad, explained in the seminar of what baits for particular species.
Oh, yeah. It was just amazing how they work,
Wow.
But to see the people, come up, and these are people who are avid fishermen and women, and they'd come up and go, I hear these things are really good. Well, buy one and find out. But I think what really helped too was, I remember the next year we were there, you had a big poster made, of people catching the fish, and people were like, you caught that on that bait? And he's like, yeah, caught that in Florida. Oh, I caught that in Mexico. I caught that in San Diego. Caught that up north, They're like, well, wow. And then is British Columbia, that was amazing. And of course, knowing Chad, takes over the boat. Literally took over the boat.
Yes, yes, he did. Yes, he did. And you guys have even experienced not just fishing in San Diego, but tell the listeners about how obviously we had a market in Pyramid and in Nevada, and Chad was going up for a seminar. And tell the listeners how you guys decided to surprise him, and then absolutely had a phenomenal day of fishing with him and Don.
Oh, we did. Good.
We took a vacation and went and visited our parents out in Arizona, and so then we swung up into Reno to go fish
Pyramid.
Pyramid. And it just happened to be the same week that Chad was going to be there. And so it worked out, and we just didn't tell him. So when he was at his seminar getting ready, we surprised him. He was
Like you
very
just walked in, like
Yeah.
he has no clue. I mean,
Right.
I knew you guys were
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah,
but
you knew, but
Yeah.
he didn't know, and he was very surprised.
Well, yeah, because what happened is we had gotten there a day or two early, and we got in our room and everything, and we're trying to. I called Chad, or I texted him. I said, "Hey, I got a guy and his son who are going to be fishing out there." So I had to lie to him. And I'm the guy, and that's my son. And so I said, "Hey, man, where can they go? You know, they're going to be fishing shore." And he's like, "Oh, tell them Pelican Point. Tell them over here. This is what they want." I said, "Okay, cool, thanks." So my son and I, my wife and I, we go over, and we get down the water, put our waders on.
Oh, wait a minute. You're fishing before the seminar
Yeah,
Before the
we're
seminar,
fishing
yeah.
before the
at
seminar.
the place that Chad tells you
Yeah.
to fish.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Okay, go on.
So lo and behold, we're out in the water, and we see this boat go by with 3 people in it.
And Tim's all, I think that's
I
Chad.
go, "That's Chad."
Oh, no.
And Tara's all, "That's not Chad." Well, understand, we have our hookup bait jackets on because it's kind of cold out there.
Yeah.
And I'm all, "Don't turn around. Whatever you do, just keep your head down." And she goes, "That's not." I go, "That's Chad. I know how he fishes. I know how he stands." So they go up literally probably 100 yards from us, if that. And I remember him, he's talking. And she goes, "Oh my gosh, that's Chad." I go, "I told you. I told you it was Chad." And he ends up, they take off. I said, "Okay, good." Well, as soon as he took off, she hooks up on her PB. Tell him about that.
Oh yeah, it was quite exciting because I've never really trout fished much, and I was having a hard time jigging them because in that kind of terrain, there's weeds and rocks, and so I wasn't jigging it fast enough. So I kept, excuse me, catching on it and losing my jig, and I probably lost 3 or 4 right away, and I was getting ticked off, and so he was tying one on, and he says, "Here, go fish with mine." I said, "Okay." So I cast it out, and I hook up to probably a good 10-pound one.
Yeah,
Probably.
10
That's
plus.
huge.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
It was her
my
PB.
PB. Yeah, and so I'm fighting it, and it was a nice little fight, and he was just hoping that it wouldn't snap off because it was 4-pound test.
Yeah,
is that
it's
what
on
you said?
4-pound test.
And so,
Well, she was
and I don't
fishing
know how to
8.
finesse
Yeah.
that stuff,
Right,
so,
right.
But I got it in, and
Fantastic.
It was,
We got great pics.
It was a beautiful fish,
awesome.
and
It was a good
it was
day.
very exciting. But it was just so funny because he was just out there, like Chad
Yeah.
was out there right before I caught it,
And
you
he
know?
would have noticed.
Oh, he
someone-
would have noticed.
Probably.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he had said to somebody in the boat, yeah, right about where those people are standing, which was
He
us
goes,
two.
Yeah, he goes, "That's where I hooked
That's
up
where I
last
hooked up
year. I
my
caught all
whatever
these
big one."
fish." And we just kind of had our heads down, like, "Don't come over here, don't come over here." Because we just wanted to surprise him.
Yeah.
So when we went to the seminar that night, he looked at us and was like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Thought we'd surprise you." He goes, "Yeah, I'm surprised."
Oh, my gosh.
So it was cool. And then we fished with him and Don, a gentleman that Chad knows.
In a boat.
In
Don's boat.
boat.
Yeah.
It was a nice boat and perfect for fishing that lake in, I thought. And so we meet him there at 7. We started fishing at 8 a.m. to 2. And I think we did over 150 fish, something like that.
It was a good day of fishing.
It was a crazy day of fishing.
And not anything to sneeze at. I mean, they were all at least 5 pounds and up. I mean, we had-
Easily, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I think our smallest was a little over 5, and the biggest I think was 18 or 20.
Oh, my gosh.
And it got to a point where Chad was like, he goes, "Hey, check this out." He puts a double rig on. And I'm like, "Are you serious? Is there something you can't do?"
Well, the water's so clear there, you
It
can
was
see
very
the
clear.
fish down there. He's like, "Wow, look at all those
And they're
trout down there."
beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful
They're
fish.
They're
gorgeous.
gorgeous.
Yeah, they were gorgeous.
And the scenery and the lake, it is just, there's
Yeah.
nothing else like it.
So now I'm spoiled. I don't ever want to fish anyplace
Yeah.
else.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Well, she tore it up too. She way outfished me.
I'm
that
like my
day.
grandkids.
And of course, I
yeah.
heard it from Chad. "Your wife's killing you." I said, "Yeah, have you seen me smiling? Why? Because she's catching fish. I'm good with that."
Yeah.
But we had a great day. Everybody, we were all for just loving it. We were
Yeah.
just loving it, and we caught a ton of fish between 8 and 2 o'clock.
And all I used that day was the chub. That's
Yeah, the new
all I
chub.
fished
All
with.
day.
Yeah,
The first one that I caught the day before was on a black and gold, but
Yeah.
Okay.
the rest of them, that other
you
when
were
you're
on
on
the
the boat, which
8th
is
or
the
quarter
chub.
ounce
on the boat.
on the chub.
I think we were fishing quarters, weren't we? Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember at one point, Don was moving the boat and Chad was on the same side. I go, "Hey, Chad, come look at this." and we look over like 30 feet down. There must have been 30 to 50 fish. And we both just dropped our jig down, and you'd see them just attacking
going
it,
after it.
going
Yeah.
after. If one missed it, the other one got
Isn't
it.
that exciting though to see how? I mean,
Oh.
the water's so clear and you see them right
Yeah.
there.
It is
Yeah.
amazing. And again, something else the hookup bait works for, you know. I mean, people there, they were asking, "Would you guys catch all those fish with hookup bait? What's that?" Because they really never heard of it. And now you sell them up there. You know, they're
Great
getting,
market.
They're
They're
getting
great
very
market. They're
popular.
getting real popular up there. And Chad's been fishing it and getting
And I
ready,
really
I think,
think
to go
it's
back up again.
To you doing the seminars too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really given a lot of information to those
It
people.
has. Because I remember the seminar there, it was packed. You know, the store had even closed, and people are going up to buy stuff, and they said, "Yeah, we'll sell to you." They made a ton of money that day, you know. But the hookup baits were going off the shelf.
And what was it like? Because obviously you've been freshwater fishing in San Diego, Tim. Now you're in a different state, different species, larger trout. What was that like?
Pretty amazing. Actually, what really helped me out was fishing with Chad before, and it was all on how to set your gear up, set your drag, you know. And like she caught that on 4 and 4.
That's
You know,
impressive.
She was on nanofill 4-pound with a fluorocarbon leader, and she didn't know it because it was my rod. And I know she was already frustrated from losing jigs. And I said, "Here," I took her out, just fish like this. It's different fishing. And man, the smile on her face was amazing when she caught it. But even bigger when she was fishing with next. She fished next to Chad almost the whole day. And they were both just laughing, you know, both just smiling.
It was one after another. We
It
just
was
bringing 'em up,
literally,
bringing 'em
it's
up.
just wide open.
Well, I
you
also
know.
heard that Don was very much enjoying your lunch that you brought and just felt spoiled and enjoyed the pampering. And, so that's
It wasn't quite the JoJo meal, but
well, I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. Well, obviously, you guys have done a lot of fishing with the hookup baits over the past 6 years. Would you say this has brought you closer?
Most definitely. Most definitely.
it's given us another thing to do, you know, because
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, "Oh, what am I going to do?" But we can always fish. We can
Because she
always
knew
go.
I liked fishing, you know, and I know she wasn't really into it. Although she lied to me from the beginning, you know, saying, "I love fishing."
That's how I
And
caught you.
and now she
Yeah.
outfishes you, Tim. Let's clarify that
Yeah,
she does catch
and
a
you know what?
ton of fish.
And it's funny because Chad and I have talked about this just by ourselves on the boat. And I go, man, my wife, she goes, you know, there's just some people that, and your wife's one of them. He goes, she can just throw it on there and dangle it around like this, and she'll catch a fish. I go, yep.
And and you're religious. I mean, you do not stop. You just keep fishing and fishing
yeah.
and fishing.
And it's funny because that's the good thing about those jigs is, you know, Chad has his way that's how he thinks it needs to be done. And me, I don't know what
She
the heck
bucks
I'm
the
doing.
system.
And it just
Yes,
works.
you do.
So the jigs work, whether you're doing them the one way or another way. You know, there's a lot of different ways. You don't have to do it a specific way.
And where I'm stuck in my ways, I do it the Chad way. I'm like, no, this way, this is a better way. And then I fish next to her, and she's just, oh, I caught another one. Oh, I caught another one. I'm all, don't
and
talk
it is
to me.
just like that.
It
Yes,
is just
yes.
like that.
But
Well,
I think too, it seems like you have your way too. Yours is a little different too. I watched you where you just kind of just let it out there and and you seem to catch the biggest one.
you do seem to catch the biggest fish.
Well,
You may not catch a lot, but you catch
I'm a
the
fan of
biggest one.
the double rig, and
Yes.
and I know Chad gets frustrated with me because he
You're not
shared
doing
with
it
me
his
that
way.
that you know you drop it down and you know when he feels the bite, boom, he sets the hook, and then he said, well, keep in mind the first fish will be a smaller fish on the double rig, and if you wait, then the second fish will always be larger. Well, then I realized, why would I reel it up when I was going to get a bigger one? So he'll say, you got a fish. I know. I'm just waiting for the second one. I know. And he's like, you have a fish. Let's go.
And he's looking at you like, why aren't you
Yeah.
reeling this
But
up?
I love it because the second one comes in and it's always the bigger fish.
Yeah. So he is right about that.
He absolutely
right
is,
about
but he gets
that.
frustrated with me
I know.
because I just let it dangle
Yeah.
out there until the second
The
one
bigger one comes along.
comes along.
Pulling his hair out, and then he's like, oh, we got a bigger fish. Here.
Yeah. So absolutely. You've also met a lot of, as we have, we call it the Hub family,
Yes.
and you guys have been a part of it from day one, obviously.
It's been very exciting.
but
and
we've
it's
met a
been
lot
great.
of different people and personalities. What has that been like to expand your fishing family to a whole new group?
It's been amazing. It really has. And of course, we got to meet Mr. Dave Marciano.
Oh,
Of course,
yes.
you know, that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just that right there showed me, you know, that this is a guy who does this for a living, but yet comes out here to fish with you guys. You know,
Every year.
every year.
Yeah.
He that's the
He
first.
and Nancy both.
They both come out and they love it. And Chad would ask, man, why do you fish for a living? Oh, I love this kind of fishing. This is great. You know, so it's like, and Chad and him, they have a
The
great
hot dog
time.
bait.
The hot dog bait is what he calls it. I know. It's great.
Yeah, and Frank and Ronnie and
Everybody, all the guys we have met have been great. And they're all really, they're like family. You know, everywhere you go, it's.
and you've had opportunity to fish with all of them. I mean,
I fished with
on
every
the
one of
boat
them.
and
Yeah. And it was funny too because a lot of those guys really never got the chance at first to fish with me. I was the first one to really get to fish with Chad. So when they finally would meet me, Chad would say, "Yeah, my buddy Tim, he's gonna come," and you'd see that. Who's he? We don't know him. You know, and Chad's like, he's been fishing with me since day one. You know, and you could, it was like, you know, the big brother saying, "My little brother's coming with us."
Yes.
That's how it is.
Yes.
You know, but then once we get on the boat and everybody's fishing, we're all just laughing. You know, because I have a tendency to just joke.
Yes.
You know, Chad never does. Yeah, right. Chad is known to pull pranks
Oh,
on the
the
boat.
two of you together, it's just nonstop. Absolutely.
Well, your mouth, your jaw hurts, your stomach hurts from laughing all day. You know, and like I said, a bad day is, wow, we only caught 110 today, 150. Wow, wonder why it was so slow. Other people are like, I just wanted to catch one. You know, but you got to remember the first Super Bowl Sunday we went out. Do you remember that? You remember that? We went out, and there must have been 30 boats out there, and all live baiting it and everything. We could roll out, and we're just killing it. And what happens? We're the only one in an area, and all of a sudden there's 10 boats around us. Chad's up, let's move, go to another spot. We start killing it. And I remember the guy who just bought $50 worth of live bait. And he's watching us. And he kind of drifts over and he goes, well, thank you for the seminar. Could you please tell me what you're using? And Chad sold him baits right there on the water, you know, and the guy never touched another live bait that day.
And he was catching fish.
He's catching fish. So, you know, that tells you they work. And that's another person who now is part of the Hub family, you know. But for me, it's always been those kids on the boats. You know, I mean, you're always going to get a hater no matter what happens. You know, somebody that just doesn't like you for no reason. Maybe they're jealous, you know, but once you start talking to them and you fish next to them, they're like, wow, I guess you're okay, you know. And it's always the old saying, you know, don't judge me until you get to know me. But it happens all the time. But after those days of fishing with these people, they're like, hey, man, I got your card. You know, check it out, man. I'm going to be back on the boat on this day. Okay, I'll see you. All of a sudden, they like you. And why? Because you're catching fish.
Well, you're quite the celebrity at the local lakes. Both of you are. And how much you go there. And I know you share, and, you know, if someone doesn't have a hookup bait, you share it. You explain how. I mean, that is huge.
I give a bunch away.
Yeah,
I always give a bunch away. And there's been times where being at Dixon, you know, guys are like, dude, what are you using? I said, what are you using? I'm using power bait. That's your problem. You're not using a jig. You know, so then you say, here, let me show you what's going on. We met Ty like that. You know, he took his boys out, and I just happened to be standing next to him. And now he's part of the Hub family.
Yep.
You know.
Ambassadors as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have to say the hookup baits have probably opened me up a lot too, because as you can see, I'm sitting here not saying a whole lot. Tim's the talker, but
No.
Not me.
and the comedian, but
Yes.
It's definitely opened me up, and like, you know, I actually do have conversations with other people about hookup baits, you know, and I do. Sometimes I think I don't really know as much as I should.
Oh,
but,
I think you do.
But they seem to respond to it, and I get conversation going. So that's a cool thing for me that Hookup Baits has done for me. You
Well,
know,
and I think it was great at our first and second, or anytime you guys come to the Fred Hall shows, is to have a woman angler and her perspective of how to fish it, and the confidence as well. I think that has brought a lot of couples together in fishing the hookup baits. And so you guys have been a great example of that.
Oh, thanks. I will say this. When Hookup Baits first started, Chad and I went to Turner's in San Marcos, and we met Lori. And Lori has been a huge
Hasn't she?
believer
Yes.
in Hookup Baits, and still trying to go fish with you guys. She still wants to know how to use them. She goes, I got to get out with Chad and JoJo.
We can't wait.
Oh, man. But she is, from day one, was a true believer in these. You know, and of course she would say the same thing. Guys are, you know, everybody has their favorite. And Lori would tell guys, have you tried this? Why? They work. They work really good. Well, how do you know? She goes, we know the guy that makes them. You should see the pictures they come in. And now all of Turner's guys use them. All of them.
Well, you
Lori
guys
too.
worked in the booth most recently at the trade
Yes,
show.
we did, over in Orange County.
In the Turner's booth, answering questions.
And I think Tara being there really made it easy for guys and girls. You know, because she was able
Well,
to
it's
say,
funny
this
because
is my
most men
experience.
don't want to listen to a woman, but
No.
I know.
but I
That'll be a
I-
separate podcast that we have together, yes.
But
Yeah.
also,
Stay tuned for that one.
that's right.
Yes.
But that guy that shared his picture at Orange County,
Oh, that's
The
right.
caught this,
marlin.
the marlin.
Yeah,
He
that
caught it
was
on one of the
awesome.
real big baits. They were he was on a
And
a
it was
charter.
huge. I
It
saw
was
the picture.
big.
It was a pretty good
a
size.
good size one. It had to be at least 200 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
But they said they saw it around the boat. They were throwing everything at it. This guy
And they
says,
said, well, let's try a hookup
he
bait.
goes, I got this big one. I think it was a 6 or 8 ounce, and he chucked it out there, and that thing went for it. And he caught it on that one. And thank God he shared the picture with us. You
Yeah,
know?
I was pretty excited about that.
Yeah, it was great. You know, they catch everything. You know, they do catch everything when we're in Cabo San Lucas. And those guys are diehard how they fish. Live baits are their stuff. You know, we get there the first day, you fish here, second day ours. Okay. And they look, and I open the box, and I said, what color? He goes, oh, that color looks like it might work. And he's like, we hooked up before they did, and they weren't liking that, you know. But they work everywhere, and they work on everything. You know, if there's fish, we'll catch them. And so, hey.
That is true. Well, I want to thank you both for coming down and being part of our podcast. And thank you for all your support and your dear friendship and your great cooking. And both of you. I mean, your garlic bread has now become a staple at any
We'll
dinner.
have to do biscuits and gravy again.
Yes.
Oh, gosh, yes. That
Chad
recipe's
hated
amazing.
that.
Oh, I know. He had how quickly could he get it all out of the bowl? Yes, yes. But thank you both. We appreciate this, your support, and we look forward to hearing more stories and spending more weekends together.
There'll be more this year.
I would love that.
Certainly.
Thank you again. This is JoJo from Hookup Baits Podcast. Thanks.